Yo ho everybody, and welcome to another edition of Yinzer on Hockey. So, it happened. The Vegas Golden Knights are the Western Conference champions for the 2017-18 NHL season. And I, for one, know that I predicted this the very beginning of the season. From the moment that the Vegas franchise was announced, there was no way this was not going to happen. Hashtag sarcasm. Okay, so, yeah, I would love to find the guy that decided that putting his last $5,000 on Vegas to win the Western Conference was a good idea, because I think we're all going to go to him for loans now. Let's take a look at how it happened, though. So in today's game, Game 5, Alex Tuck opens the scoring from Carpenter, and at 5:11, giving the Golden Knights a 1-0 lead. And then Josh Morrissey scores his first of the series, his first of the playoffs, off of a face-off win by Brian Little on a set play from the face-off. And it was there was a change there during that period of the game where it seemed like Winnipeg had the momentum, spending a lot of time in Vegas zone. This came shortly after a series where it led to a Winnipeg power play off of I think it was Nosek that took the tripping penalty there midway through the first period, and it seemed like everything was going the Jets' way, and maybe they were able to buck this trend of the team that scores first always winning the game, but they weren't able to carry that momentum after the Morrissey goal. They did carry the play for a little bit after that, but just never able to solve the Marc-Andre Fleury problem they had all series long. And in fairness, neither was San Jose and neither was Los Angeles through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. Marc-Andre Fleury has played like a man possessed in this playoffs. Coming into tonight's game, Fleury was carrying a .930 save percentage through the series, giving up 9 goals on 129 shots. Just an amazing performance from him. And not to take anything away from the rest of Vegas lineup, but it just seemed like every time that Winnipeg would get a little bit moving forward, get a little bit of momentum going, it just seemed like that Vegas was able to snatch it right back off of them and change the tides of the game. And I think a lot of that had to do with the way that Vegas played in the neutral zone. One of the things that I watch for when I watch hockey and the way that I dictate who I think is playing the better game is the team that wins the neutral zone is generally able to win the game. I know a lot of people put stock in Corsi values and put stock in the possession time, but if you're not able to get through the neutral zone cleanly, it can really change the way that you have to approach the game. And I think Vegas done that a lot to Winnipeg this series, where they weren't able to carry their north-south game the way they like to. Winnipeg likes to play with a lot of speed, likes to play rush hockey more than a chip and chase style hockey, and they like to play a fast game and control the zone using their physicality versus using possession, so to speak. Hellebuck did not have a bad series for Winnipeg in net. He had a sub-900 save percentage coming into this game. He played very well today, making 30 saves on 32 shots. Just, again, I think this series came down to goaltending, and whichever goaltender was going to be able to carry his team was going to win the series. And all playoff long, Marc-Andre Fleury has been the best player in the playoffs and continued to be today with 31 saves on 32 shots. just nobody was able to solve him. Nobody was able to rattle him. Much like in the Tampa Bay Washington series, there has always been kind of cracks that they've been able to expose in the goaltenders. You can see it after Tampa scores a goal. You can see Holtby kind of fighting off the next few shots, just trying to regain his composure. And the same thing with Vasilevsky. He seems to be moving a lot more in the crease than he would normally after he gives up a goal. And with Fleury, he's been rock solid. He's never been out of position, and he's always been calm and collected. Excuse me. And I think that was the difference in this series was Marc-Andre Fleury able to carry the play. So what do I think this means for Vegas and Winnipeg both moving forward? Well, obviously Vegas is going to sit back the next couple of days, watch and dissect the next game of the Washington-Tampa series, and if they have their way, maybe they'll get to watch and dissect the next two games to give them a little bit of extra rest. Vegas has been very good at utilizing the extra rest they've gotten between rounds. They obviously had a little bit more of a layoff than San Jose, and they come out in that first game in the second round and won that game. I think it was 7-0 in the first game. And then even in the Winnipeg series, though they lost, they still looked like a fresher team going into that first game. They seem to have more speed than Winnipeg had in that first game, even though Winnipeg was able to win. I think Vegas took a lot away from that, and I think it took a lot of extra energy just for Winnipeg to win that game, and it could have had something to do with why Winnipeg lost this series, as they played that tough 7-game series against Nashville in the second round, and some of that fatigue might have finally start to set in, and definitely the doubt set in, after games 2 and 3, when Vegas seemingly got outplayed by Winnipeg, but still were able to win those games because of the way Marc-Andre Fleury played in those two games. And I think that kind of put more mental fatigue on Winnipeg with not being able to solve Marc-Andre Fleury. For Winnipeg moving forward now, I think they have a lot of good things to take away from this series and to take away from this playoff run. They're still a pretty young team. Patrick Laine obviously didn't have the series that he expected to have, only having 2 goals, no assists through the series. Just not his best performance from a guy who scored 44 goals in the regular season, or 47 goals, however many he scored in the regular season. I think he'll take a long look at what he did in these playoffs and what he needs to do to improve his effectiveness in the playoffs. Blake Wheeler had an amazing series, and Mark Scheifele had an amazing playoff with 14 goals in the playoffs. I think Winnipeg has a lot to build on. Obviously, their priority is going to be to try and convince Paul Stastny to come back for another year. He's been an excellent addition since the trade deadline. And Connor Hellebuck, obviously a young goaltender, maybe didn't have as much as he needed to in this series, but a Vezina candidate this year, obviously has a lot to build on and a lot of good things to carry into next season. And I think Winnipeg is a team that's built for sustained success. I don't think they are a team that was a flash in the pan. I think they're going to be back next year, kind of like the way Nashville came back this year when everybody doubted their run from last year. And I think Winnipeg will be able to emulate that success next year. Obviously, you can't. It's too early to make any predictions of can Vegas win the Stanley Cup or do they lose the Stanley Cup. There's no way to know without knowing who they play. I know in the regular season they won both games against both Washington and Tampa Bay, but as this playoff season has proven, regular season stats doesn't mean much going into the postseason. You get a lot more familiarity. Coaching becomes so much more important in the playoffs because you have to make those in-game adjustments. You have to make the adjustments between games to make your team better. And I think Gerard Gallant has done a fantastic job of that with this Vegas team. I think John Cooper has done a great job with that in Tampa Bay, as well as Barry Trotz in Washington. They've kind of changed their style a lot on the fly, and they've played a lot better in the neutral zone in that Tampa series than I think they had played most of the year. So only time will tell who Vegas plays in the finals and whether or not they'll be able to continue this storybook run. I say often that every clock has a midnight on it and eventually Cinderella has to go home, but Vegas continues to prove me wrong. I've said I thought that Los Angeles, with their experience, their defensive style of hockey, that they would beat Vegas. I thought that San Jose, they were only 2 years removed from a cup run, and they had a lot of guys with some deep playoff experience, and that they would be able to solve Winnipeg or to solve Vegas, and they haven't done it yet. And personally, I thought that Winnipeg was the best team left in the playoffs when it came down to the Final Four, and Vegas kind of just pushed them aside like they weren't even there. So we'll see how it goes moving forward. I'm not going to speculate at all anymore because I don't think if I try to speculate anymore, it's just going to continue to make me look like a fool when it comes to what I know about hockey and what I don't. And maybe it's just true. Maybe I don't know anything about hockey, but I think Vegas has disproven a lot of prognosticators, so I'm not alone in my assessment of the Vegas Golden Knights. All the pundits can look back at themselves in shame and say that they had no idea that this would be the case. But here we are, May 20th, 2018, and the expansion franchise known as the Vegas Golden Knights are your 2017-18 Western Conference champions. So let me know in the comment section below, did you predict at any point before the playoffs started that Vegas would be your Western Conference champions? Did you envision this success way back in November, December? Because I would like to find the person, and I will offer you a heartfelt congratulations to your prognosticating abilities. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're just passing through. I do as much as much hockey content as I can put out with the time allotted to me, and I enjoy carrying conversations with people about hockey. So like, subscribe, comment, and thank you for watching the video. I appreciate all of you, and we'll see you next time.